Hey you fam, it's YuKo Millennia, and it's been a while since I did a devlog or made myself present in the world. I basically disappeared for 6 months, which is not my intention, but things happen. For those who are new here, my name is Jason, but I go by YuKo, and I'm solo developing an action Souls-like game titled Wander. It's an action game first, so I'm working on putting a bigger emphasis on the action element while mixing in some Souls-like mechanics, and I hope it all works out. I've been working on this project for about 2.5 years now, and since this is my first game, I'm basically raw dogging it and figuring out things as I go. Anyways, the title of the video probably gave everything away, but I did apply for the Epic MegaGrant, and I did get my results back. And I kind of want to give some updates because bomb dropping new updates on Discord or on Twitter is going to feel weird without any context. So here we are. As you may know, in the 6th month of 2025, I released my 7th devlog. Get it? Sorry, I had to do that at least once. Anyways, that devlog basically went over the ability system I implemented for the project, and as you can see, it's not super polished. The most logical thing to do is to clean it up and polish it a bit more, but my motivation is starting to die out. So instead of feeling the flame, I put it out like an idiot. You see, I'm not artistically versed, so when I have to do anything art related, it really puts injury to insult, but I do it anyways. This year, yes, I do this, or something like this every year, I tried level design. I have no experience with building levels, but I have built environments, which are different, but I'll get into that in a bit. But every one of my levels so far consists of a platform floating in space. For this experiment, I wanted to block out a level that is located in some natural environment, but with pacing enemies and structures. I decided to go with a mountainous area, not great for beginners, but when gathering some inspiration, it looks pretty cool. I used a technique called gray boxing, where you use simple shapes to model structures and objects in a level. Just block it out and get a feel for what it would look like. And I gotta say, it doesn't look too bad. There are a lot of rough edges, but so far not terrible. I placed enemies and made different areas and structures, and it actually looks like a level. So how does it play, you ask? Well, let me show you. Yeah, I don't know if I want to explain that. The problem with this gray boxing technique is that it's commonly used to block out cities, towns, or places with a ton of structure. In a natural environment, things get a little tricky. I mentioned that an environment is different from a level. An environment is usually a polished world used to be admired, while a level needs to be playable. If you search online for an environment, that's what you'll get. And if you search for a level, you'll get videos on playable levels. But those two rarely cross, and there has to be a way to get a playable level set in an environment. As a beginner with a handicap in the art department, I have no idea how to go about this. So this little endeavor made me realize that I'll have to deal with this eventually, and since the project is not at a state where I need to worry about level or environment, I can put it off for now. This is a problem for future me, and I'll figure it out, but not for me right now. Devil May Cry, Nier Automata, Ninja Gaiden. What do they all have in common? If you said aerial combat, you are correct. So why doesn't Wander have aerial combat? Because I said no.
One eternity later.
Hey, that's pretty good.
A few moments later.
It's the biggest piece of dog shit.
That is how I would summarize July. I've made tons of variations of aerial combat throughout my time using Unreal Engine, from my old combat prototype to my tutorial videos, but not once have I given the nod of approval to anything like this. At the time I thought it was good, but in reality, it's not that good. The pacing feels off and it's very static. One thing I also hate is how close the player is to the ground. And when you compare that to an enemy who's also on the ground, it just looks funny. Again, I thought it looked and felt good at the time, and because of that, I didn't fix it until later. The deadline for the Epic MegaGrant is closing in, so I needed to pick up the pace. So what did I do? Add more work for myself, of course. I felt like I needed more features, and this is a terrible idea now that I think about it. Rather than having a few mechanics that are fully polished, I wanted a bunch of mechanics that just work. And that's not a good thing because a bunch of stiff mechanics is a lot worse than a few mechanics that are fully polished. Of course, I thought I had enough time to polish everything. The system I implemented was weapon swapping. The idea is you can switch into a weapon mid-combo and it will allow you to extend your combo potential. So to put this idea into play, I made another weapon, a greatsword. I actually liked the base moveset of the weapon, but the abilities were too simple to be called abilities, and I don't think that was the direction I wanted to go with the greatsword, but it works without any major problems. Or at least I thought so, because after testing it some more, I hated the whole weapon switching attack. It felt so out of place and it breaks the entire flow of combat. Also, the animation blueprint for the greatsword just looks a bit irritating, so I needed to get those fixed as soon as possible. Yeah, I did not have enough time to fix any of the problems from last month. With a few weeks before the submission deadline, I decided to put everything together and hope for the best. Which, by the way, is something every developer should avoid doing, but I guess the pressure got to me and I kinda lost my sense for good practices. I set up a really simple level, threw together some tutorial widgets, and implemented full control support, which also works on the UIs, which is great. But I quickly ran into more problems. You see, I never built the project before, which is bad practice as I'm about to find out firsthand. So of course, there were some minor issues which I fixed, repackaged, and tested. And were not that big of a deal, but there were some major bugs. One of them involved the bonfire system I made a long time ago, and I made it to where it should work without any problems, and it did. Now I was using delegates and the issue came from binding delegates to functions in C++. I don't know if this is a problem with blueprints, but it is a problem in C++. And the idea is that when an object is unloaded from the level, it's basically invalid. When you broadcast that delegate, it tries to broadcast to the invalid actor who binded to the delegate, which makes sense and doesn't make sense at the same time. When you test it in engine, the engine does not flag you about it, so I had no idea until now. But that was one of the major issues I could not get working by the time the deadline rolled around. So I wrote everything down in a readme file and hoped the project would stay intact. With a few days left, I packaged everything, built the application, and submitted everything. October and November were slow months when it came to updates. Didn't have a whole lot of changes worth noting, but basically added some small systems, which I don't even know if I need or not, cleaned some of the blueprints, and took out all the camera shakes since I needed to fix them. Other than that, I didn't do a whole lot. The wait was short-lived as I got my results back. And well, we did not get selected, which is what I expected. But this is a season to be busy. I honestly don't know what happened, but I was locked in. The abilities and aerial combat that needed attention, well, I fixed both of them and made it even better. For starters, aerial combat went from being the worst aerial system I've ever made to being the best version I've ever made. It went through a complete rework and I took heavy inspiration from Ninja Gaiden 4 and the way they did aerial combat. For abilities, I kept one ability and implemented 2 new abilities and polished all of them to the best that I can. Oh, but we're not done yet. The game was missing a lot of feedback with the combat system, so I added weapon trails, impact effects, sound effects, and completely finished reworking the camera shakes so they're a bit more subtle. Now the sound is something I've never worked with before, so at first the sound effects did not sound right, but over time it started to grow on me. But I think it can still use some work. I think this is the hardest I've ever locked in on. Mind you, I finished all of this a few days before Christmas, so this is a W if you ask me. Maybe I need people to tell me that my project is not up to par more often, and that might be a motivation to work harder. Well, either way, even though I didn't get selected for Epic MegaGrant, I locked the fuck in. 2025 has been a crazy year for me. At the start of the year, I had to remake the entire project. In the middle of the year, I added tons of new mechanics, and we closed the year with the greatest level of focus. I would like to say we are making great progress, but there's still a ton of work to do before this is anywhere near a playable game. But new years come with new goals, and in 2026 I have 3 major goals I would like to hit. My first goal is to post more updates on Discord and on Twitter. I say this every devlog, but after posting 1 or 2 things, I go quiet again. So starting this year, I'll keep you guys more updated on the project. My second goal is to strive for a playable demo that I can finally share with all of you. I say this every year and never reach it, but with every passing year, I get closer and closer. My final goal is to finalize my Patreon. I know I've been neglecting all of my supporters on Patreon, and I'm very sorry about that. I've gotten tons of feedback from a lot of you and I'm working on a plan to put those into place. Right now, I'm working on all the finite details, so thank you all so much for the patience. If you have any more recommendations for Patrons, please let me know in the comments or DM me, whatever it takes. 2026 is going to be a long year, and before I end this devlog, I want to thank all of you for watching and being here. I know I don't post as often as I used to, but I'm doing my best. I want to thank all my Patreon members for the continued support. With that, I thank you guys for being here and look forward to more devlog videos for Wander. This is YuKo, and happy late New Year's.